All right, welcome back everybody to the Made New Project. Today we have a special guest, Miss Kaitlyn Collier. She's from Denham Springs, Louisiana. She's an operations manager at Ulta. She's lost 60 pounds, started running roughly 2 years ago, has been sober from stimulants for 2.5 years. She also recently completed her longest distance running of 29 miles on her 29th birthday. She is scheduled for a 50-kilometer race, which is roughly 31 to 32 miles, depending on the race. She has big finishes in the Q50 20-miler and the Q50 Chupacabra 10-miler, multiple local 5Ks, and she has also completed 75 hard 3 years in a row. She is getting married in March, and that's what I know about Kaitlyn so far. There's a lot more that we're going to get to dive into so far today. So welcome, Kaitlyn, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited. This is so fun.
Yeah, podcasting is super exciting. And once again, like Kaitlyn's somebody that I know from Instagram, and that just seems to be how people connect nowadays. Is like we follow each other and like we're inspired, maybe ask for tips, like what are you doing here, and you build a connection. And like I kind of look at the podcasting realm as like another way to meet somebody. It's like here you are on socials, and then there's podcasts, and then like eventually you could find somebody like at a race or something, and then you're like friends for
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But as we get into this, you've only been running for about 2 years, and you have a 50K set up, and you said one of the hardest things you've ever done was a full marathon. So I guess what I want to start asking is what even got you started running?
So I actually I played sports my whole life. I think I've done every sport under the sun except for basketball. Um, I did competitive dance for 15 years, so that was my big one. And I was the athlete that would get a doctor's note so I wouldn't have to run when we would have to do our conditioning. So I was trying to get out of running as much as possible because I hated it so much. And I got out of sports. I quit everything after high school. And when I started going to the gym again, trying to get back into shape, I realized that if I was ever in a scenario, actually, I was watching a lot of true crime, and I was like, if anything ever happened to me and I had to run for my life, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I didn't like that thought. So I was like, I think a good place to start is like, I should be able to run a mile. And so it was just, I mean, when I first started, it was at the gym on the treadmill. It was hard for me to jog even like 0.10. Like that was a struggle. And the first time I ran a full mile on the treadmill, it was like that was it. I was hooked on it. I was like, wow, that was so fun actually. And then it was evolved from there. That was probably like 2 years ago.
Yeah, so talking about sports in your childhood, like what got you into sports? Are you from a family background of sports, anything like that?
My mom actually, funny enough, did track a little bit, but she didn't do like collegiate level sports or anything like that. She was just my parents were just the type of parents that wanted us to try anything that we wanted to. So I think I played like the first thing I ever did was I played soccer when I was 4, and then I did gymnastics for a year, and then I started dance. Loved dance, loved being on a stage, loved performing. I guess that's kind of why I love running a little bit because a race kind of is a performance in a way. Every time I run, I'm like, oh, I'm performing for Strava. So I love a performance. I love putting on a show. Um, so really went hard in dance. I did softball for 3 years. I did volleyball for 2 years. Um, just kind of the off season to dance, I would pick up and try other little things. And I had a coach my senior year of high school on dance team that I just really did not like, and I let it get to me a little more than I should have. And I was like, you know what? I'm done with everything. I'm just going to start college. I'm not going to do any sports. And if I miss it that much, then I can always go back to it. And what happened is I started college, got into drinking, got into partying. Now I'm not so ready to go back into sports anymore, and I kind of let that part of me go. I think that's my biggest regret that I have to this day is that I let dance go away.
Yeah, and so I mean that was transitions perfect because I was going to ask. Obviously, at some point you became at least what you considered overweight. In today's society, maybe nobody's overweight. I don't know. We won't get into how people view what's overweight or not, but something you put on your list is that you lost 60 pounds. So at what point
Yeah.
did that begin? And then at one point, like, do you think you recognized it, and what like turned it around, I guess, to start, I guess, the weight loss journey of what it was?
Yeah, I was actually completely blind to my weight gain. I gained all of my weight extremely proportionately. So there was never at any given time where I was like, oh, my legs are bigger, my stomach's bigger, my arm. It was like I just kind of expanded at the perfect rate, I guess you could say. So after, while I was in college, I got into a relationship that was not the best. So my fiance right now, his name is Hunter. This ex, his name is also Hunter. So I refer to him as Evil Hunter. So Evil Hunter, that was, I think I was there for 2 years, and it was in that relationship that I put all of my weight on. I wasn't leaving the house. I didn't have friends anymore. I was drinking all the time. I think the only way I could ever get out of my house was if I was with his friends drinking. So I was just always drinking. And then I think it was, I went on a vacation with his family, and we rode one of those rides where they have to put you in a harness. So they have to weigh you to know what harness to give you. And I stepped on the scale, and it told me I was like 192 or something like that. And I just, like, my whole face went white. I was like, there's no way. And then when I got home, I really looked at myself and was going through my pictures, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could not believe that I let myself get to this point. And it was a fight after that to kind of, I wasn't mentally in a place where I could really put the work in, but I did start. I like joined again a gym again. I started slowly getting back into health. The diet was the biggest thing for me. I could never really. It took me too long to lock in on my diet. I was like, I can just go do 3 hours on the elliptical and then just still eat 5,000 calories a day, and it's fine. Not the case. So once I got out of that relationship, I was able to get a little bit more serious about working out. It wasn't until probably like 3 or 4 years ago when I met my current fiance, when I like really got serious about losing weight. And that was obviously, he encouraged me with that. He was very helpful. And actually I met my fiance now when I was bigger. So we started dating when I was bigger, and he's been with me through like the whole weight loss thing. And so that was really awesome. Um he encouraged me. He was really serious about the gym when we met. So I would just always go with him. And then he was the one that kind of sat me down one day, and he's like, you want to be so serious about working out, but like, what are you eating? Like, you're not eating right. We had to like reevaluate my diet, get my diet together. So he's really been helpful in my whole weight loss journey as well.
Yeah, and really cool to have like a partner that is honest with something like that is so hard, I find, to be honest about, right? Like when somebody, they might be confessing their fit, like what they want to do in their fitness journey, but like you're watching them do something else. It's like, I really want this for you, so I have to be honest with you. Like you're not getting there because you're doing X. So with your new fiance and like getting into the gym, did he teach you things that were different, or were you guys like holding each other accountable more? Like what made that change occur?
The first couple times when I first started going to the gym with him, it was him kind of like showing me around, learning the machines, stuff like that. Um, really having those, like when I would get frustrated about not seeing the number on the scale move, he would be like, "Okay, and like how many times did you go to McDonald's this week? Like let's be real about this right now."
Yeah.
He's like, "I don't care if you lose weight or not, but if this is what you want, we got to be realistic about what you're doing here." Um, he actually cooks a lot, so he's always cooking, which helps me stay on track. Because if I hate cooking for myself, like I'll only cook if I absolutely have to. And he's like a go to the store every day and cook dinner every night type of person. He genuinely enjoys cooking for people, so having him makes it so much easier for me. Um, but yeah, I think once I got pretty serious. I was really just into weightlifting for maybe like a year and a half with him. And then that was about when I ran my first mile on a treadmill, and I was like, hold up. I was like, something just changed for me. I was like, you know what? I think actually I'm going to do my first 5K this year. And after I did that, it was just like hooked. And then obviously I think I lost my first 40 pounds from just the gym and like fixing my diet, and then the last 20 have come since like really getting serious with running.
Yeah. And when did you, so you started 75 hard to like, I mean, probably right around the same time frame of this first mile, I would assume somewhere in there. And I mean, how did
Yeah, I
that go
think
the first time? Because that's 75 hard is a daunting thing to do. I've never even tried,
yeah.
but it's very disciplined.
So I didn't do like the actual 75 hard. I was like, I like the concept of a 75 hard, so let me make this into something that'll work for me. And I did a 75 hard where like my daily challenges or my daily tasks I wanted to complete were all contributing to building healthier habits. So like I was a chronic nail biter for my entire life. I was like, I'm not biting my nails anymore. Put that on the 75 hard. That's a habit I want gone. I don't want to snooze 7 alarms every morning anymore. Put that on my 75 hard. I did like the 90 minutes exercise a day. I think I had like maybe 8 or 9 different like tasks that I would complete every year. And so every year when I've done it again, I've just kind of shifted, made it a little bit harder. I think on last year's, this is after I've been doing a little bit of 5Ks here and there. On, I think 2025, I made it where I wanted to run 1 mile every day continuously because I wanted running a mile to be so easy I didn't even have to think about it. And I did that, and that's fantastic. I know without a doubt I can run a mile under any circumstance. So this past year, yeah, this January I did 2 miles. Next year I'll probably do 3 miles. So just making it a little bit harder every single year. Eventually I'll probably do like the actual 75 hard. Um, I have because I work retail, my schedule is so different every single day. The actual 75 hard doesn't really, it's like a little bit too intense.
Yeah. And I mean, that gets us into, you've run 1 mile a day for a year and then, like you said, the 2 miles, but currently you're doing Run the Date, which is something that
Yeah.
like I think I'd seen it before, but like I don't
Hmm.
have anybody in my feed that's as dedicated to it as you are that I've seen. And so to explain to people what this means is on January 1st, it's 1-1. So you run 1.1 miles. And then the next day you run 1.2 miles, a minimum of, right? You don't have to run that
Yeah.
exact amount, but it has to be that or more. So like today, Kaitlyn has to or has ran 7.27 miles. And so getting
Yeah.
into that, and is it, how hard is it becoming? And then like like how'd you find out about the challenge itself? And then at what point did you commit to it? Or is it just immediate? Like, did you just want it immediately?
Well, I knew once I ran, honestly, I'm a very big dreamer. If I love something, I want to do I'm an extremist. Everything is all the way or nothing. And so when I decided I like trail running, I was like, what's the most extreme form of this thing that I like that I can do? And I discovered Courtney DeWalter and I discovered Sally McRae. And I was
Yeah.
like, I can run ultras. Like, why not?
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, how do I even work up to running an ultra? At this point, I didn't even realize that running 100 miles was something that people did. And I was like, how am I going to do this? And I decided after uh doing like a half marathon and like training, I was like, no, I think I can do this. And so last year I saw it was two friends on TikTok that just randomly they just decided to do it together. It was like two, if I wish I knew their ads so I could say it, but it was two guys that started the challenge. They did it all of 2025, and then they encouraged everyone else to join in on it for 2026. They made like an app, I think that's in like a beta phase, that syncs to your Strava, and there's like a leaderboard and everything, which that's what hooked
Yeah.
me because I don't know, once you put me on a leaderboard, like that's it. I'm in it now. So um I loved that idea, and I started it, and I was like, you know what, if I do it, I made on my like vision board for 2026. I was like, I want to run the date just 183 days out of the year. So that's like half of a year. I was like, if I can do it for half of the year, I'll be happy with that. And then they made the app and they launched the app and it syncs to your Strava and then they put you on a leaderboard and there's a certain category on the leaderboard that's everyone who hasn't missed a day. And I think on that leaderboard, I'm ranked like number 5. And I was like, well, I can't ever stop now. I have to see it all the way through because I'm not going to lose my spot on the leaderboard. And it's real cool. All the people in like the top 10, we all follow each other on socials, and a lot of them are big hitters. I think when Cocodona was happening, there was like the top four people all kind of dropped off for 3 or 4 days, and then their Strava synced. All of a sudden they're back up there. I was like, I know what y'all are doing.
That's
But
crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
because now, I mean, you're running 50-mile weeks. So as you get into
yeah,
July, 7 miles a day. I think it's like 7.14, something like that. Miles per day is 50 miles a week. So like you're essentially a seasoned ultra runner's like weekly mileage is roughly somewhere between like 35 and I don't know,
yeah. That was the idea. I
135.
was like, if I can successfully do this whole year, it'll be really rewarding for myself personally. Because like just to go from really not that much discipline in running to this is crazy. But I feel like it's building a really strong base for all of the really big races I want to be able to start doing next year. So it's really just it's for me, I think it's just endurance conditioning. I was like, if I can make it all the way through December, my races next year are going to be like I can focus on speed, like 'cause obviously I'm not worried about speed right now. It's just let's just get the miles over with, time on feet pretty much. But
Yeah. How are you getting through? So some of the days, like I mean, I everybody knows that some days are harder than others, and you're in something where every day's hard at this point. A 7 mile run is like never just
yeah,
something that's like super simple or super easy. It takes at least an hour, but usually more.
yeah,
So how are you currently like? I mean, you just ran 29 miles and then had to run. I think it was like six something miles at that time. The day after. Like, how are you finding
yeah.
the discipline in the days that it gets really, really tough? We're down.
Thing fell
We're
over. Let
back.
me see.
Yeah, we're okay.
All right. I well, the first thing is obviously I'm not an elite level athlete or runner, right? So I'm not pressuring myself on this to be full sprinting or like doing the full thing in a run. My like rule for myself is as long as I run at least 1.5 to 2 miles of the distance, I count it. So on days where like my body maybe like I need a rest. So like if I do a really long run the day before, or I do a race where I was pushing speed and I can just feel it in my legs, because obviously I can't risk injury because then that
Yeah.
throws off the whole year. So we want to be safe over everything. So if I can just feel that my legs just aren't in it, I'll just do run walk intervals, just which sucks now that we're getting to the higher months because it means that the runs take longer. But you got to do what you got to do to be able to stay in the game. So I think yesterday, for example, I did kind of like a rest day. So I did 2.5 mile segments on my treadmill, and I do like read and walks is what I call them for a lot of the time if I'm taking a rest day, if you can call it resting. So I'll read a chapter in my book while I'm walking on the treadmill, and just whenever I'm done with that chapter, I'll sprint to whatever the next mile is. So it might be like I read for point 0.6 of a mile, and then I'll run for point 0.4, and then I'll maybe the next chapter is shorter and I read for point 0.3, and then I run for point 0.7. And it changes it up. It keeps it so it's not the same. It gives me breaks here and there, but I'm still accomplishing the distance. um I'm starting to get to the point now where up until this month, really, I've been able to just kind of like do the whole distance in one go because everything's been under an hour. Now that we're at 7, it's like I have to be a little bit more strategic. And then on top of that, 7 miles a day at one time is a lot on your body. So I think going into August, I'm going to have to start splitting like 4 and 4 or 5 and 3, and trying to give some rest in between runs so that I don't overkill it.
Yeah, it's probably becoming more logistical than it is like physical at this point too, like it's like how do I manage everything plus the mileage, and then you see people. I think an easy way to find the motivation is you see somebody like Andy Glaze who runs 100 miles a day or 100 miles a
Yeah.
week every week for 6 years, and it's like, well, I
Yeah.
guess I can do, my 60 miles or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. I think this past last weekend it was my best friend's birthday who lives in Homa, and so I knew that if I was going to be staying the night at her house Saturday night and I had to work 7 to 2 that day, I was up at 3:30 a.m. so that I could do 7.18 miles before I left for work so that once I got off work, drove to Homa, did the whole birthday party, I wouldn't be like trying to squeeze in time for a run. So it's having to make sacrifices like that. Like 4th of July, I woke up at like 5 a.m. so that I could do all of my miles before getting on the boat so I wouldn't have to worry about it afterwards. My birthday, I had a big day up at 3 a.m. so that I could get the run done. So you have to be really strategic about when you're gonna. Also, you have to know yourself because I could obviously just say, "Oh, I'll just run after," but then if I don't run after, and now maybe I had too many beers on the boat, and now you want me to go run 7 miles in the heat while I'm like buzzed, like that's not good for anybody.
No, that's scary. I was running a mile a day when I used to drink for a little while, and I remember like even a mile like after drinking a little bit is so much more different than like a regular mile. It's like
Oh yeah,
things are just off. I'm not saying like I was never in a spot where like I was like running like hammered or something like that, but like where probably like shouldn't drive a car, you know what I mean? But I'm running like on the
yeah,
sidewalk for a mile and it's like things are just a little bit wonky. This was a bad idea. So
yeah.
I get it. Yeah. And yeah, speaking of like 3 a.m., 5 a.m. wake ups, so you have like something sober from stimulants for 2.5 years. So let's categorize like what do we
Yeah.
mean by a stimulant?
So I do have ADD. When I was never diagnosed or prescribed anything for it all through high school. When I got to college and I didn't have like the structure of class like I did in high school, I really started struggling. So I got prescribed Vyvanse. And I loved Vyvanse. I have an affinity for stimulants. So any type of like upper, anything that's gonna like drill me in, I love them, and my tolerance built to the Vyvanse so quickly that I was up to 50s, I think, within a month or two of me being prescribed. And then within a year, they were offering to give me Vyvanse and Adderall so that I could take two a day because my tolerance was so high to it. Um, I loved how the Vyvanse made me feel. I was pulling all nighters. I was going 3, 4 days without sleep at a time because I knew I could just stay up all night, get everything done, make an A on the test the next day, like do all of that. It got to the point I was eating my Vyvanse prescriptions like candy. And it was like I would go through my script and then buy some from friends. And that got really out of hand when I quit or dropped out of college. Um, that's when I stopped filling my prescriptions. And then I kind of like laid low for a little bit. And then I got real big into the music scene in New Orleans. And this isn't anything negative about the music scene in New Orleans because I still am friends with all the people I was friends with during this time of my life. I just don't partake in certain activities anymore. And when I started going out there, I got introduced to cocaine. So, loved cocaine. Molly, ecstasy, anything that's considered an upper was like my vice. Like, give it to me. I want all of it. Once I started taking it, I couldn't stop taking it. It got to the point where I was going out to New Orleans every weekend and buying an 8 ball every weekend and doing most of it to myself, while on top of that, still taking Vyvanse and Adderall that I was buying from friends. So I think one of the wake up calls I had was one of the guys that I would buy from. We were over at his house. We were about to go to a show, and I got my bag. Went to go do a line. As soon as I did a line, I took a Vyvanse, and he saw me and he said, "You're gonna fucking kill yourself. You're insane." And I don't know what it was about him saying that to me, but it like that was the first time I ever really thought about what I was doing. And I was like, oh wait. I was like, oh, and I just kind of like really after that, I just kind of I thought a little bit. I was like, oh, if you're telling me this, then this is probably like actually bad what I'm doing. And then Hunter again, my fiance, he knew I was going out to New Orleans every weekend. This was before we started like seriously dating, and it got to the point where he was like, I'm not gonna be with you if I have to worry about you killing yourself every weekend from accidentally taking fentanyl and stuff like that. So, because of Hunter, I made the decision to stop doing coke. And then after I stopped doing coke, it was probably 3 or 4 months after being sober from that I decided I wasn't going to do Adderall or Vyvanse anymore. So started quit all of my pills, and then because I wasn't getting any stimulants, but I still needed like that like caffeine feeling, I started abusing energy drinks. So it got to the point where I was drinking 2 to 3 energy drinks a day. And I think after I hit like the 1 year mark of being sober from Vyvanse and Coke, I had one day where I drank 3 ghosts in a day because I forgot that I drank one on the way to work, and then I bought two at work that I drank. And after drinking the third one, it put my body in like the same state as when I would be like coked out. And I like got like the sweats and my heart rate elevated, and it scared the hell out of me. And after I had that experience, I decided I was never drinking an energy drink a day. And like from there on out, I was cold turkey, no energy drinks. So the only stimulants that I consume from that day on is just like regular coffee. I like will not touch anything else.
Yeah, because three ghosts, I mean, it's like 900 milligrams of caffeine, right?
Oh yeah, I was at work and my Apple Watch gave me like a hey, are you dying notification because my heart rate out of nowhere shot up to like 140 and I was just standing still.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, you know, some of us have been addicts before. It's like we find the thing that is deemed like legal to like replace the thing that was illegal. Even when we come
Yeah.
like getting out of the addiction is one thing, but it's like an even harder thing to replace it with a good thing. So now like coming on, how hard was it to get off of it? And like if somebody else is dealing with the same thing, I think there's a lot of people, especially in the ultra community and the running community, that are still slamming caffeine on some days, myself included, like not 900 milligrams ever, but what would you
Yeah.
tell people? Like what would you tell people? Like what worked for you to get off? I mean, you were at the highest high
Oh
with, you know,
God.
talking about cocaine and like hard drugs
Yeah.
all the way to like energy drinks that most people are, there's a lot of people drinking two a day, like no issue, you know? So what
Yeah.
would you tell these people like to help them if they're struggling?
It honestly, I mean, you almost have to have like a oh shit moment where you scare yourself a little bit. Like when I drank those three today and I was like, oh, this isn't good. Or it was maybe waking up too many times in the morning where I had like my chest felt tight. Like if I would sneeze when I woke up, it would physically hurt my chest because my chest felt so tight from drinking so much caffeine. And I mean, they're dangerous. I mean, caffeine, like, that'll kill you. There's that teenage girl that just died from drinking, like, too many Alanis. Like, it's not, like, it's a serious thing. And if you are looking to stop or cut back on your caffeine intake, like you just have to cold turkey it almost. Especially like when it comes to energy drinks. You don't even have to cold turkey caffeine in general. Like at first when I stopped doing energy drinks, I allowed myself to drink coffee in the mornings. And if I was going to the gym, I could have one scoop of pre-workout. And but I had to go to the gym if I was gonna do that. I couldn't drink it like unless I was at the gym. And I did that for a little while until eventually I was like, okay, I don't really need the pre workout anymore. The worst part about cutting energy drinks out is because you're so reliant on that caffeine intake every day, caffeine withdrawal is the worst thing I think I have ever, I won't say worst thing I've ever experienced, but it felt like the worst flu that I'd ever had for 2 weeks straight. Constant migraines, just like miserable. My fever was spiking. I went to urgent care multiple times because I thought I had COVID, and every time it's negative. And then after about 2 weeks, no energy drinks, I literally just woke up one morning and felt perfectly fine. And I sleep better. I have more natural energy. I really don't even need coffee most of the time. I think the only coffee that I drink right now is I have like the cold brew concentrate, and I mix a protein shake with it every morning. And so that's really the only reason why I drink that. But it's the best decision, hands down, that I ever made. If you're thinking about if you should do it, I would really recommend that you try. The only issue is once you quit, you're gonna suffer for a week or two, depending on how much you're currently drinking, but it's so worth it to like get out the other side. I think that up until that point, I was only drinking like waters as a beverage that wasn't caffeine, and I think that's what got me to start drinking diet cokes again, was because there was like such a bad caffeine withdrawal. I needed something with caffeine to keep the headaches away, and so now it's just diet coke and coffee. That's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's absolutely incredible, and I think it's like one of the most underrated addictions, like in the country right now, is caffeine. Like, it's just like it's a cool thing to
Hmm.
drink, energy drinks, and like they're so easy to get, and they're promoted like with neon colors. Like they're promoted to kids. Nowadays you see kids that are 14 years
Yeah.
old just like slamming Ghost energy drinks or like Monsters, and you're just like, this can't be good. But yeah, I wonder. And in the ultra community, like everybody, like I caffeine taper. So like I will like start tapering my caffeine 2 weeks out where I like bump it down if I'm doing any. And then,
Hmm.
7 days out, I don't drink any. So that when we get like, 20 hours into a race and I have like a
Yeah.
Coke, it actually hits. But have you thought
Well, yeah,
about
'cause that's the thing. If you're consuming so much caffeine and then it gets to the point where you actually need it, it doesn't do anything for you anymore.
Right. And that's yeah, I've told some people like I forgot where I learned it, but I mean, I learned it somewhere and I'm like told my buddies now like if you're drinking a bunch of caffeine and you go into a race and you think it's going to work when you get tired, like it's not going to. Like your body's already used to that thing. Um
Yeah.
yeah, talking about ultra running, you're going to run your first 50K. Like what's the limit? I think you're going to crush 50K. You've already done 29 miles. But like are you looking at doing 100 milers and stuff like that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sweet.
I want all of them. An extremist. I got to do the craziest form of anything that I can physically be capable of. So if I
Cocodona,
do a
baby. Let's
50, I got to
go.
do 100. I know. I'm hoping, depending on how good I do at the Q50 extravaganza for the 50 miler in February, I might try to like look into getting 100 on the books for what would that be, 2028? Do my first 100 in 2028, maybe try to do like 250s in 2026 and just really work on like strength training and everything next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could probably do 100 sooner than you think, though, to be honest with you.
That's what I have a lot of friends in some of my run clubs that have done hundreds and they're like, you could do 100 now. Like you could
Yeah.
sign up for one tomorrow. I'm like, let's hold on to that a little bit. Cuz I'm
Yeah.
someone that I have to it's hard for me to go into something without like a performance without proving to myself that I can do it first, which is why for me my marathon was so difficult because like every other race I'd done, I'd ran the distance before the race. So I did a 20-mile trail race. I had at least 2 days leading up to that, or maybe I didn't run it continuously, but I did 20 miles in one day.
Yeah.
So during no matter how hard the race got, there was never a question of if I could do it. It's just how well am I going to perform when I do it. And my marathon was the first time I'd ever walked into a race without having done the whole distance before. So before that, I think I did the Q50 extravaganza this year. So that was early February, and I did the 20 mile. And I did really good on the 20 mile. And I finished the 20-mile trail, and I was like, I feel like I could for sure do another six. Like,
Yeah.
I'm good. And then I didn't do any other long runs, like over 20, until my marathon, which was at the beginning of March, and it was just awful weather. I think it was like ankle deep water for the entire second half marathon of the race. Like it was a half marathon loop, and as soon as I finished the first loop, I think my half marathon PR at the time was 2:06, and I finished my first loop in 2:10, and I was like, this is perfect timing. I'm gonna do the 4:30 like I wanted. And then the sky fell out. I couldn't for 3 miles. I couldn't lift my head up higher than this because the rain
Wow.
was pelting my eyes, ankle deep water, chafing everywhere. It was just absolutely miserable. I think I finished in exactly 5 hours.
Yeah, that's insane.
But I
Like I've
got to like
never.
mile 18 and I was like, I actually don't think I can do this.
Yeah, 18's like one of those breaking points. My first marathon, same way. Like 18, 19. Like I was like
Yeah.
everything hurts. This is really hard. Like let's just try not. I was just trying not to walk was like my new goal. And I'd never run 12-minute miles
Yeah.
in my life at this point. I thought a 12-minute mile, like I didn't even think you could run a 12-minute mile and it'd be hard. And then I figured out real quick that it was possible.
Oh, I was fighting for my life running like 14s to 16s for my last like 6 miles. I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah, and so I mean, as you reach into 100, like you're obviously not going to be able to run. I mean, maybe you will run a training 100, but it's like super rare for
Yeah.
people to run any more than I don't know, like 30 miles in a training run. Like you maybe do a 50 or
Yeah, I've
something like
kind of had to
that.
let that theory, I've had to kind of let that practice go. I'm like, if I really want to do, I'm like, I'm not going to go out and run 300 miles before a race. So I got to we got to think of something else here.
Yeah, they usually talk about just like stacking the miles in the week. Like if you're gonna run a 100 miler, you should try to do at least like 100 mile week, which seems so insane because like you're gonna run that amount of distance across an entire week and then try to condense it to like 36 hours or less or most cutoffs. But
Yeah.
you talked about Courtney and Sally and people like that. I mean, obviously Rachel this year. So what like
Yeah.
women are doing for the sport of ultra, like how has that inspired you, and like is there anything you remember that really like piqued your interest out of any of those ladies?
Oh my gosh. So the first ultra documentary I ever watched that I was like, I want to do that was actually Max Jolliffe, King of Moab. And I
Yeah,
was like, damn. And then right after I finished that, I was like, I need to watch every version of this that I can. And then I think it was like two back-to-back Sally McRae documentaries. And then I got into like a Courtney Dauwalter rabbit hole, and then I followed all of them on Instagram, and I'm watching all of their stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh. And the more I started watching like these women, like the top, like elite women in ultra, I was like, all of these women are like in their mid to late 30s. Like some of them, like some of these top performing athletes are in their 40s. Like you look at Harvey Lewis,
yeah,
that like, and he's still
50,
like
yeah.
top of the game. And I was like, oh my gosh, because I came from a sport where like once you're 30, it's like, all right, grandpa, like wrap it up. Like you're done. You can be a teacher now. Go own a dance studio. Like that's all that's left for you. So for me to find, I think that's really what ignited my passion again. I haven't felt a passion for anything like I have dance until finding running. And realizing that there's like a whole, like I'm not aged out of anything. I'm actually fairly like at the, like I'm 29 right now, and it's like I'm actually like a baby compared to most of like the age of the elite. Like if I really locked in, like that could be me in 5 years. So um just I don't know, just seeing all of them like at the ages they are, and like the life, like the amount of life that they've lived. I've always been someone who was like really worried about, well, obviously I want kids, and so it's like, how is that going to affect training and stuff like this? And it's like almost all of them have kids. Like Sally McRae has kids.
Yeah,
There's tons of women ultra runners who have kids, and then like within a year of having Jasmine Paris, when she won
yeah. Barkley.
the Berkeley,
Yeah.
that was like a life-changing moment for me. I was like, and like she had just had a kid, did a year of training, won the Barkley. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I can do this. Like that could be my life. Like it doesn't have, like I could still achieve all of these great, like you can really like have it all almost, and that's what sold me on it.
Have you seen the story of the woman who was running 100K? She won it and breastfed at one of the aid stations. Like so she
I
had
did not see
yeah,
that,
she
but
had
that's
just had
incredible.
that kid. Yeah, and then at one of the aid stations, like literally nursed at one of the aid stations and still won the race. I hate that I'm forgetting her name right now, but like this was
That's
maybe in the last
fantastic.
year. Yeah, super cool. And yeah, I mean, you're naming all these people, and they're all just incredible people too. Like I had the pleasure of meeting almost everybody you mentioned besides Courtney. Courtney was like in and out; she was in the zone. But like they're so kind too, and that's what's great about Ultra too is
Yeah.
we all can line up and like meet the superstars of the sport. Where when you talk about like gymnastics or baseball or football, like it's so hard to even get in the same room as some of these people.
Yeah.
So like running provides us a community where everybody's like still close no matter how good you are. And that, I mean, I think
Yeah,
that's
and
really exciting.
that's also an appealing factor is like let's say that my like golden race is Cocodona. Anyone can sign up for Cocodona. You get your
Yeah.
qualifiers. I don't, does Cocodona have qualifiers? I'm assuming if you run a race it's that long.
It
No?
doesn't. It doesn't. Right now
Oh,
it's the
see, so I
lottery.
could
Anybody can
literally
get
wake up.
in.
I could wake up tomorrow and say, "Yeah, signed up for Cocodona." Like it's that's what's so appealing for it. I don't have to work. Like I don't have to. You can run it without being elite. Like you can do it just for the sake of doing it to prove to yourself that you can do it. You don't have to have the goal of being like the best runner in the world to be able to do all of these things and accomplish all of those things. And I love that. Now, because of who I am, I would love to win a big crazy race like that. That would be insane, but like I don't have to. and I can still do them. And that's just like, that's so appealing.
Yeah, and I think what we learn in running, especially with a race like Cocodona, is like we see Rachel's performance. You know, the course record, the first woman
Yeah.
to ever win Cocodona, absolutely incredible. I can't even fathom how she did it. And then,
I was losing my mind.
oh, I bet. Yes. I mean, I remember every aid station I was asking, like, because I mean, obviously I'm not following the race because I'm in it, but I'm like, hey, is Rachel still winning? Like, just like stoked. And my buddies
Yeah.
be like, yeah, but Killian's like 2 miles behind. I'm like, dude, it's a race. Like the whole way.
No, I went to bed one night and I was like scared to check it when I woke up. I was like, please tell me she's still in the lead.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like, so Rachel finishes in 56 hours. And then literally more than 56 hours later, more than almost 3 days later, we have the video of Wayne Amo, who's the guy that finished last. I don't know if you saw that, where he's coming in like
Mhm.
sideways, barely
Yeah.
able to finish. And it's like both stories are like so inspiring on completely in like different ends of the spectrum. And then you have all the stories
Yeah.
in between. And like that's ultra running. And that's why like podcasting is so important because everybody that like runs a race or has like, and I think it's like reflective of life. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're in the front or in the
Yeah.
back or how you're doing or how you finish. Like everybody's doing something spectacular, you know? And like your run the date thing, I think is super neat and unique and hard to do. And you know, to you, it's like just 7 miles a day, or to somebody else, you know, but like I think it's inspiring to show discipline like that.
Yeah, if you would have told me even in January of this year that I'd be successfully doing 7 miles a day right now, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have been like, that's crazy. Like, you haven't stopped yet? Like, what?
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to get into these harder months. I think August and September will be the last two, I think, really difficult months just because of the heat down here in Louisiana. And once we get into October, hopefully, it'll still be hard, but it'll be not as hard because we'll get back into the colder weather. I'll be able to speed up a little bit.
Yeah. 10 miles a day is going to be a good time.
Yeah, well, the 50K is October 24th, so I'm running a half marathon the day after my 50K because I signed up for a half marathon last year, couldn't do it because they postponed it. I had to defer my registration to this year, and it just so happens that it's the day after the 50K. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to run 10 miles the next day regardless. So even if I walk the half marathon, at least I can get a medal, and then it'll force me to keep with my run the date challenge.
Back to
So I'm
back
gonna do
races.
the 50K and then wake up at like 6 the next morning and do a half marathon race and then do 10.26 miles the day after that and just keep it going.
Yeah, my gosh, how incredible. It's just like I said, I'm trying to think of like how do you, so looking at things like October or like December, it doesn't scare you at all? Are you more excited than anything else? Like, is it getting
Um
tough to think about
when
like the
you
future?
I uh I know it's going to be hard mentally. I don't think the way it after doing it this long for the year, the way it builds every month, like you have a whole month to acclimate to like 7 miles a day. And then it's kind of like right when 7 miles a day is starting to get like, I got this. Well, now it's eight. And then I'm going to have the whole month to get used to eight. And then it's like, well, make it nine. And every month when I'm at the beginning of a new month, I'm like, I can't even imagine running one more mile right now today. And then I get to the next month and it's a little bit easier. And it's just my like pace is obviously because my volume is so high, my easy paces are getting lower and lower. And I'm just I'm hoping what happens is when that temperature drops in October, like I'm hoping I could break a 10-mile day into 5 and 5 and do like 40 minutes and be done for the day because we won't have to deal with the heat and hopefully I'll be a little bit faster by then. um but if I'm running at, I think a 10 to 11 mile pace is like, if I'm just really not having a good day, that's like the pace I just try to like kick it easy at is like 10 to 11 if I'm not
Yeah,
walking.
yeah,
Um, and even if I do that for December, a 10-minute pace, that's like 6 miles, 6 miles, that's 2 hours.
2 hours.
So it's
Yeah.
like a lot of people can find 2 hours in their day to dedicate to working out, hobbying, something like that. So it's not, when I think about it like that, it doesn't feel as impossible as like, oh, I have to run a half marathon every day now. So
Yeah, how cool
It's
though.
like at the most, it's like 2 hours a day.
Yeah. Are you starting to plan what's next for 2027? Like, just like, is there anything like that can one up this? Are you looking to one up it? I know that like when I have major accomplishments, they don't ever fulfill like the thing that I think they're going to is the
Yeah.
honest truth. And I say this all the time. So then I have to look for something new and I hate it about myself, but I just know that that's what's going to happen. So I'm just wondering if you, it seems like you're built the same way.
Yeah. So I have I believe that the only way to better yourself is to surround yourself with people who are better than you. So you always have that push. And there's a lot of people in a couple of my run clubs who are very, very fast. And their goal for this year, they have their sights set on Boston qualifying. And so they're all hoping that Louisiana Marathon in January is going to be their BQ race. And watching them train and just like get better and better in their progression is really motivating for me. I get a little bit of FOMO because obviously I can't do that many speed workouts right now because it's like I'm running 7 miles a day. I'm every single day when I run, I'm running on some level of fatigue. Like there's
Right.
never a completely fresh day. So speed, like worrying about speed at this point in the year is just kind of out the window. Like if I can hold a 9 to 10 minute pace, that's fine. Next year, besides my 50 miler, I think after I get through that 50, I want to spend the rest of the year just like hammering speed workouts. I want to see how fast I can get my times down by the end of 2027 and hopefully maybe end of 2027, beginning of 2028, BQ myself. So I would love to start chasing like the world majors, like the big
Yeah.
marathons. I would love to get into some of those.
Yeah. I wonder if, how many trail races have you done?
Oh God. Probably I would say probably around 15 in
Okay.
total.
Yeah,
So I
I'm just
do
wondering if like because there's not a lot of people that do both. Like or like usually you end up choosing one. Like once I got on in trail running, like road racing for me, it just doesn't really happen. Like it just doesn't happen.
yeah. I think I don't think I would ever the 50K I'm doing in October is in New Orleans, so that's a road race. Um I don't see myself ever like pursuing longer than that on a road. I think I prefer the trail for sure. But I don't know. I really do enjoy both.
Yeah.
For different reasons. For different reasons. I love being able to go fast, and then I love like the technicality of running on a trail, like the stimulation that gives my mind when I'm trail running is just a different type of like enjoyment than like hammering out an all out 5K. So I really want to do both. I feel like if I'm gonna do it, I want to be able to do everything at least once. So like,
Yeah.
why not do all the world majors? Why not like Boston is like the race if you're a marathon runner. So like I gotta do it at least once, which means I gotta get my speed up. But that's
Yeah.
like
And that's what's great about running. Like I tell people all the time, they're like, "Oh, how do you just run?" It's like, well, I don't look at it as just running because I could like, like you're saying, like chase a marathon PR or a marathon,
mhm,
or I could chase 100 miler, or I could focus on 5Ks, or I could. I mean, like Camille Herron is like focusing on speed walking or something, right? And it's like there's
yeah,
all these different facets. People think if you don't run, people think it's just running. And then when you look inside the running like world, there's like a million different types of running, last man standings and
yeah.
elevations and hiking and through
There's
hiking
no
and
ceiling. There's
right.
no like cap to where you can be at. There's always like you max out your 5K, great. What can you do in a 10K? Like there's never there's never like a all right, you're done. Like there's always something like somewhere else you can take it.
No, I agree, and I think that's why like people like us who maybe had like addictions or to anything, even like not even bad
Yeah.
ones, just even good ones, but like it's like oh, like you can never get tired of this thing, because it
Yeah.
continues to change as long as you want it to. If you're burnt out on road running, you could just start trail running. You know what I mean? You get burnt out with that,
Yeah.
you go back. It's like super
Hmm.
simple in that way. Um, So looking at, I wanted to talk about your family. You're getting married, so I think that's super exciting. And
Yeah.
like, I never talk about people's like relationships and stuff. But how has that been? Like, you've talked a little bit about your growth with Hunter. How exciting is it like to like work into that process?
Oh, it's so exciting. We actually we got engaged after Louisiana Marathon this January. So that was my first half marathon race, and I was worried about how I would perform because I kind of slacked off at the end of last year, and 3 weeks leading up to the race I had hardly really done any running, so I was really nervous about it. And I ended up running, I think my average pace was a 9:37, and at the time, like I'd only been able to hold a 9:30 pace for like 2 to 3 miles at a time. So to go the whole thing at like a 9:30 was insane for me. And I did so good. I blew my goal time out of the water by like 30 minutes. I think it was like a 45-minute PR for me. And Hunter had gotten my ring already and he was carrying around with him all day, and he said he had plans to propose to me around Christmas, like right before, but the ring wasn't done in time, and then by the time he got the ring he didn't know when to do it, and he happened to have it on him the day of my race. And he said that he was so proud of me while I was running my race, like how good I was doing, that he just couldn't stand to not do it. Like he's like, it has to be today, like it has to be today. And it just so happened that like everyone's schedule was free, so after my race, like my whole family was able to come back to my house, and he just did it right there in my living room with all of my family. I think we were just sitting on the couch and he grabbed my hands and he was like, Kaitlyn. And I was like just looking around, he's like, Kaitlyn. I'm like, what? And my brother-in-law was like coming around the corner with his phone out, and I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, you're about to do this right now. So we got engaged after my half marathon race this January. So it was really cool. Another way running is integrated into that.
Yeah, where are you guys getting married?
March of next year. So I'm
Where?
run
I'm
the
sorry.
day.
Yeah, yeah.
Lake Charles.
Okay.
So there's a venue in Lake Charles called like the Stables at Les Bocages. It's like a big like brick courtyard. It's so pretty. It's like an equestrian stables, gorgeous. So we're gonna, I think his family's from Alexandria, my family's from Denham Springs. So regardless of where we have it at, everyone's gonna have to drive at least like 2 hours. So we just picked our favorite venue and we didn't have to worry about travel because everyone's gonna have to travel anyways.
Yeah, how cool.
Hmm.
Something else I wanted to ask about, like your infamous like forehead up, like
Oh yeah.
like selfies, like, and it's like I think like when you started talking earlier, talking about like performing and like it reminded me of that because it's like not that it's a performance in itself, but it's so unique because in this day and age, like everybody wants to look good and look their best on social media, and people would deem like that angle not their best, so like
I
where
love
did
a
that
point five.
start and like what's it about? Is there any backstory to this at all?
Um, Not really. I used to just take point fives as like a joke, like when I would make memes of myself to send to my friends. And when I started like really posting on Strava, and I don't know. I posted one or two in a row, and then I went to Run Club the next week, and I had like a couple different people that were like, "Are you the forehead girl?" I was like, "Yes," and I was like, "All right, I guess this is just my thing now." And so yeah, I'll have people that pass me like on our routes at Run Club, and they're like, "Good job, forehead." I'm like, "Thank you."
You just got
And
yourself
that's just
a
like my thing now. I love a good point five.
yeah, just zooming the camera out. Yeah, that's funny. I think it's hilarious though, and I've told you like I think it's hilarious. Like, where's the forehead
Oh,
pick at
thank you,
today? Um,
thank you.
do you have a dream race? Like just like off the top of your head, like I have to do this by the end of my life race?
Oh, UTMB. That was the video that made me even like realized that ultra running was a thing. I watched Andy Glaze, his vlog for like the UTMB he did like 2 or 3 years ago, and I was like running through 3 countries, what? And just all of his like vlog updates, I was addicted to watching them. I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then I realized that that was like a normal thing that some people did, was just run races like that. And then that's when I found like King of Moab, all those videos, and I was like, oh, this is like insane. So UTMB, I think, is for sure, that's like the dream race.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to talk about too, you mentioned like people of age, you know what I mean? And the age of elite ultra runners. The guy who just won Hard Rock is like 55, who won Hard
Yeah.
Rock 100. And I think it's like that's what I tell people about running too, is like everybody gives up on themselves around the same age you're talking about. Like get out of college, you like start settling down into life or whatever, I was in the military, whatever, and then you're like, I'm done. Like my physical peak is over. Like you've been told your whole life, like 28 is like a number that like, yeah, after that,
Yeah.
you're toast for anything. And I think running like proves that that's not true.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I was just wondering, like, do you have a lot of people in your run club like at that age, or is it a younger group, or?
Yeah, so I do two different ones. The run club I do on Thursday, I would say is mostly um like a younger crowd, probably like 30s, late 20s, and then the older people that are in that run club are typically like walkers, joggers, stuff like that. But I do one on Tuesday that's with Happy's Run Club in Baton Rouge and the Varsity Run Club that's in, I think they've got a couple different locations and they do run clubs all over the state, like in Mandeville, New Orleans, Baton Rouge as well. But there's a whole lot of varsity people that run that Happies. I think that run club has anywhere from like 1 to 200 people a week. It's huge, and we just run through downtown Baton Rouge. And I love doing that run every week because it has the energy of a race day. So like if I'm gonna accidentally PR on anything, it's gonna be at Happy's. And there's a good bit of people that run that run club that are in their 60s and 70s even that are like wiping the floor with me at local 5Ks. There's a there's a man who's probably I think in his 70s. I want to say I asked once and he's in his 70s. And anytime I do a local 10K or a local 5K, he's always there and we run at almost the exact same pace. And so I can always tell if I'm ahead or behind my usual pace based on where we end up together at some point in the race. Like if I see him like catching up to me, I'm like, I gotta go. But yeah, the running community in Baton Rouge is insane for like all ages across the board. Very talented, like disciplined runners all around.
Yeah, I had no idea. And it's like there's so much growth in numbers too, like seeing
Yeah.
people of all. I know like I've got friends, they'll run a half marathon and get passed by like they're like discouraged because they get passed by old people. I'm like, dude, this is not something where like you can just hop in and think that you're going to be cream of the crop, dude. Like years and years of development for a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you had to pick one person to run a race with, who you got?
Ooh, right now, Rachel Intrican.
Yeah. Have you watched a
I
ton of her
just
stuff?
Yes. Yeah. Since I started watching her maybe like 6 months before Cocodona. So I was like a little bit familiar with her. And then I was really watching like the live stream for Cocodona this year. And when I saw her like get out in the front, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I think I was texting one of my friends like within the first like 10 or 12 hours of the race and I was like she's gonna win and they're like no 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 like Killian's gonna come back at night and he's gonna beat her. I was like nope nope. I was like I can feel it. I think she's got it. I think she's got this one. And it would just be a dream to just have her energy, like to see how she handles everything. I would love to just be next to her when she's at like one of the like mentally like a really tough section of a race, just to see how like the conversation that she has with herself in her head to get through that. I would love it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and she's such a great ambassador for the sport. Like, she's super kind. She's full of energy.
Yeah.
Like this is her first year sponsored, and she's been running for like 15, winning everything for like 15 years, but finally
Yeah.
like got a sponsorship. And I think she's 36, maybe years old. It's like right in that age range you were talking about earlier, where people like start counting you out or whatever, and she wins arguably like the most prolific, 200 miler in North
Yeah.
America. But yeah, she is her interview on Rich Roll is super good. If you haven't listened to the Rich Roll podcast,
I'm
she's
halfway through her interview right now, actually.
yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I just Rachel and meeting her, like I hope you get to meet her someday because it's the same as what you hear. Like all that energy, like all that love, like she's the same way in person, all that kindness, like she hung
Yeah.
out in Flagstaff, so she finished in 56 hours. Like she was there when I got done at 94 hours, and then I came back like the next day, and she was there for that entire next day, just like hanging out, meeting people, taking photos, like signing autographs, and it was just great, like that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. I love when people are so I love when you can tell that someone genuinely loves what they do because they love it and not just because like they do it because they're good at it, because I do think there's a difference. And she's one of those people that just really loves what she does. Like even if she wasn't as good at it, I think she would love it and you would see the passion in her all the same.
Yeah, I think so too. I completely agree. So we've been talking for a little bit, and like your story is great. You've overcome a ton of things, and your life continues to progress. And like literally in the mileage every day, you're progressing like
Yeah.
almost 1%, maybe a little more, just in mileage alone. And on the Made New project, the whole thing is that we're humans, and our whole life is a project. And there's points where we become made new. And I'm just wondering when that was for you, if you have one or multiple definitive moments.
So I've already talked about like sobriety from certain substances, stuff like that. So that's obviously one major turning point. I would say the biggest like I'm free from my past life moment, I would say, is all with starting your weight loss journey and stuff like that. It's really easy, especially as a woman, especially as a girl who is in sports like dance that have such strict requirements for size and shape and stuff like that. Your relationship with food can so easily become a negative, like awful, horrible thing. So whether that's you binge, whether that's you restrict, I was doing a little bit of both, just enough that like it was never enough for someone to notice I was struggling, but the things I were doing wasn't healthy. So restricting a lot, and then obviously stimulants helped with the restriction because I wasn't getting hungry. And then when I stopped all of the stimulants, struggling with binging again, it wasn't until I got serious about running that my whole relationship with food has kind of turned. And it's because I care more about my performance in a run now than I do what I look like while I'm running. And finally having that moment of wanting something and being like discovering a passion for wanting to better myself at something that wasn't just my appearance has been the biggest, I think, turning point in my overall happiness in life, I would say. If I don't, I used to, I'm a my fitness pal girl down. I track every single calorie I eat. I mean, even now I calorie track, but now it's for macros versus like calorie number. So being able, like, I think when I got to maybe around the 4 or 5 month mark of run the date, I had to come to terms with the fact that you can't do this on a 1600 calorie diet. Like, if
Yeah.
you're not eating, I was starting to really notice if I didn't intake a certain amount of calories, I would directly feel the consequence of that the next day on my run. And now that I'm this far into it, if I'm not eating at least like 22 to 2300 calories a day, I cannot do the run and like have it feel good and be successful. And having that moment where I let go of that like negative relationship to food because I don't care about the appearance aspect of it anymore. I care more about being able to run fast when I have to run 7 miles tomorrow. I want to be able to run 7 miles in an hour and 10 minutes and not have to have it take longer. And to do that, I need to fuel. And that shift in mindset has been so just relieving of almost all of the major stressors in my life. I think being able to not really worry about what I eat. It was we celebrated my fiance's birthday with like our families and everything this past weekend, and I didn't track anything. I didn't care because I knew that it was all gonna like any excess was just gonna fuel me better in my run the next day. And I think that was the last little tidbit of maybe like bad, harmful habits I was holding on to. So to finally be rid of that, it's kind of like for the last 2 months and moving forward, I just feel totally like a new person. It's like, whew, like I'm glad that's over. Um, so yeah, sobriety from stimulants, healing my relationship with food for the like desire to perform better in the sport that I love now. That's all just really I would say that's probably like my final moment up until now. I'm sure I'll have many more in my life, but up until now, I think those are my big ones.
Yeah, and you said a lot of good things there, and it's like your running is so purposeful that like you have to fuel, right? And then like you also know that 2,200 calories doesn't mean like 2,200 calories of ice cream. You know what I mean? Because that
Yeah,
wouldn't get you the right fuel either. So it's like I
exactly.
don't have to be perfect here, but if I want it to do better or do well, like I have to do this well too. It's like it's why I quit drinking, like because like I
Hmm.
couldn't control the drinking and then be like I couldn't drink Saturday and run Sunday. Like it was just not going to happen because when I drank too
Yeah.
much, you know? So I would have to work around the drinking. And then like at one point I was like, if I want to be good at this thing, I'm just going to have to stop because you know what I mean? I don't think I can have a healthy
Yeah.
relationship with it. And that was just like it. Some people can, some people can't. And that's with anything, you know, food, alcohol, like I don't think any drugs are probably good for running, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I just think that's great, and it's hard to realize because you talk about something else, and you were good at like masking that you had an issue, and so I guess I have a question with that because you're saying like you restricted or
Yeah.
you binged, but never too much to where somebody could notice. So I guess
Yeah.
the hard question here is like a lot of people are doing that with a lot of different things. And like what do you think could pull somebody out of that? For you, like it's this running journey essentially, right? And like realizing how to do it the correct way. But how what advice could you give to like pull somebody out of that space where they're hiding it?
I think that's a hard, that's such
Hard.
a, yeah, that's such a hard question to answer because for every person, like you have to really find a personal reason why you want to stop. So if the only reason why you're trying to lose weight in the first place is to be skinnier, I feel like, or for just like appearance, not that you can't do it, but it's always going to be exponentially harder than if you have a bigger goal attached to that. So, being healthier, being stronger, involving yourself in an activity that's directly correlated to like being able to fuel your body. I always did sports, like I've been saying. And so you can imagine how difficult it was for me to be a top performer in sports when I was eating like 800 calories a day. Like, that's a very difficult thing to keep up with. It's very hard on your body. I think if you're someone who's struggling right now with restricting or binging, I think even if you're like me and neither one was bad enough to where you would call it, I mean, if you're not eating a normal diet every day, then it's disordered. So if you don't have an order to your how you're eating, it's disordered eating. So that's if you starve yourself all day and eat 4,000 calories before bed, that's just as disordered as someone eating 200 calories throughout the whole day. And you have to just want something more than like being skinny. You have to want something more than losing weight. It has to be for a bigger reason. And if you don't have that reason yet, then that needs to be your focus instead of like the cat. Like that needs to be your priority. Like what can you find in your life to center your life around that's not eating? And once you find that thing, I think the rest just becomes easier.
Yeah, it's
But
purpose,
that's
right? Like
again
that's
very
exactly
personal for everybody. Yeah.
right. It's finding your purpose, I think is exactly what you're saying. You know, once you have purpose, like everything starts to move that direction. You know, like not just like it might start with your eating and then it goes into like, oh well, to be a better runner, I also have to be stronger. So now I also have to strength train
Yeah.
or like it's like everything like you're saying falls into place once you find that personal like reason or purpose to do something. Because we're
Yeah.
seeing it like with GLPs, right? People are just taking GLPs to see a number on the scale. And are they getting healthier?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hard sell that they're healthier now, and you
Yeah.
have to couple it with more healthy habits is exactly what you're explaining.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be, you don't have to like develop a passion to be an ultra runner. It could be maybe you have kids and you want to be a better role model for your kids so that they grow up seeing healthy eating model to them. And so that's your purpose for like fixing it within yourself. Or maybe you have family members that are on the verge of like being pre-diabetic or being diabetic, or maybe you have family members who have died from obesity or have serious health complications because it runs in your family. Like, maybe your purpose is to be the change so you can show the people around you that it's possible and that you can do it. It doesn't have to be this like exponentially like ridiculous goal. It can be just like creating inspiration in the people around you to want to be better. Like, that can be your purpose too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing I struggle with this sometimes is like navigating wanting people to be healthy while also not being like a body shamer. Cause I'm not trying to shame anybody, but I know there's like a body positivity movement and things like that. Like, have you like felt any of that? Like, hey, I want everybody to be healthy, like legitimately, and I know that
Yeah.
being obese is not healthy, but I also understand the mental health like side of not bullying somebody. Like, so I don't just wonder if like you deal with like the same mental like hoops of trying to persuade people in the right direction without hurting their feelings, I guess you could say.
I think it, again, it just comes down to like what they want. And not to be like, oh, it's a lost cause, but like if someone genuinely doesn't care about health, like you're like, unless they have a personal experience that changes that for them, nothing I say is going to make a difference. Like, they have to come to that on their own. And I think everyone deserves to love themselves and be happy with themselves on a daily basis. I also think that everyone deserves, if they're capable of it, to give themselves the best chance at a healthy life. So if you have the capacity to be healthier, that doesn't mean lose weight. That just means be healthier, and you're not doing it. I think that's a waste. I think if there's a lot of people who have like disabilities and they struggle with conditions that make it so difficult for them to achieve like a normal healthy life, and if you are fully capable of giving that to yourself and you just won't, that's where I get frustrated. But again, people have to come to that conclusion on their own, and you could talk to people all day about it, and until they're ready to sit down and say I want better for themselves, it's it's like an addict. Food addiction is an addiction too. So it's like, unless that person is like ready to change their life, nothing you say is gonna change that for them. They have to become so uncomfortable with how they are that they realize they need the change.
Yeah, and it's the classic, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, and that's
Yeah.
like where I want this podcast to be. It's what social media can be good for, is there's stories like
Yeah.
yours where you weren't seeing the effects yourself until you literally got on a scale, and then understood
Hmm.
that you had a problem. This is probably thousands or hundreds of thousands of people in the same boat. So I
Yeah.
wanted to say thank you for sharing your story, because like it could be the turning point for somebody, is just hearing a stranger, explain the exact thing they're going through, and then they get to make the change themselves.
Yeah. And then I would say the biggest oh, I lost my train of thought. Never mind. It'll
No,
come
you're
back at
okay.
some point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like I said, it's just important to share stories. Like that's when I started going on podcasts and people like would message me and say that they were inspired by my story, because nobody thinks their own story like has any sort of impact. Like at least I don't think, like people don't think like I'm inspirational, at least not often. And once I realized, I was like, everybody has a dang story. You know what I mean? And it's like impactful
Yeah.
to somebody, or it can be in the future. And that's just what's great about having this medium that is podcasting. No matter how many people listen or don't listen, the chance to share our own stories is therapeutic for us. I get to meet cool people, and so it's just been a great experience. But I just
Yeah.
appreciate your
The best
story.
thing that you can do, absolutely. The best thing you can do is just be the example. If you're pursuing your passions and you're putting all of your effort into living the way that you want, the people around you will feel that. It's infectious when you're around someone like that. I have people in my life that are doing it to a higher degree than what I think I am, and I'm inspired by them every time we're together, whether it's training, whether it's just like someone who's really successful in other aspects of life. Surrounding yourself with people who you think are better than you is so important. But just, instead of maybe approaching people with a judgmental tone or coming at someone with concern if they in the past haven't been receptive to it. Just live your life the way that you would want your friends and family to live theirs. And I think that's the biggest impact you can make on people.
I agree. Yeah, just set the standard. You know what I mean? And like consistency is where those people start to turn over when they and then when they see like the fruits of it. You know what I mean? When they see your life, because in the beginning, like it's so hard and nobody believes you're gonna make it, including yourself. Usually, it's like I don't know if I'll ever get to where I want to be. But once that happens, like everybody else sees it, and then you get to see it, and then that's when people are like, "Oh wow, like you can change." You know? Like
Yeah.
I can do it. And that's the thing is like helping people believe they can do it. You know, I think that's the point of most of our lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kaylin, if I just appreciate your time, but if you have anything else for the viewers here, I'd love to hear it.
Not really. That's kind of the gist of all of it. Y'all can go add me on Strava for my forehead pics.
Yeah,
I post them
what are
every
your
I
ads?
post them every day. It's just Kaitlyn Collier, and then I'm in Denham Springs, so it's my first and last name.
Yeah, so you guys follow Caitlin. Just, you know, thank her for her story. And if you guys got anything from this, we appreciate if you just share it with like one person. You know, it's important to spread messages and help each other out. So, Caitlin, thank you for your time. Good luck tomorrow
Absolutely.
running, you know, 7.28 miles. And
Yeah.
maybe we'll reconvene at the end of the year and talk over how it
Absolutely.
went. Yeah.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, let's try to do that then.
Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, Caitlin. Folks, this is the Made New Project. We are out.